Hey everyone, it's George from Blockchain TXP and today is the 7th of May 2024. Now, so far as the cryptocurrency market is concerned, guys, there is not much going on, but the prices of Bitcoin and the global cryptocurrency market has definitely pumped up. It hasn't pumped up a lot, guys, but I'm pretty much sure the next coming days we will definitely be heading towards a positive direction. But look, guys, as I always say, all price predictions are 100% right, 50% of the time, isn't it? Now in today's episode, guys, we do have some macro level news from all around the world. We have some news from Philippines. We also have some unfortunate news from Nigeria. But let's start with some massive news regarding Bitcoin. And a dominant Bitcoin address, guys, has actually moved 687 Bitcoin. And this has been dominant for well over a decade. So we'll definitely go ahead and discuss this. And this is the power of publicly verifiability, isn't it? Because look, guys, when you talk about open blockchain, there are certain pillars of open blockchain. And the ability to publicly verify absolutely any transaction, that is one of the pillars of open blockchain. So in today's episode, we'll very briefly touch base on a mysterious holder who has cornered and moved Bitcoin, which is worth around $44 million. And guys, this month there is massive update regarding Ethereum ETF, isn't it? And on the 23rd of May, guys, we'll find out if an Ethereum ETF is approved or not. But in the meantime, guys, there are different applicators for an Ethereum spot ETF. And what the United Securities and Exchange Commission has done is, they have decided to delay some of the ETF, that is by Invesco Galaxy. So we'll definitely go ahead and touch base on this news. Now regarding Philippines, guys, we do have some news and they are deciding to work on cryptocurrency regulatory framework. So we'll definitely go ahead and touch base on this. Now it's really important to note, guys, the Security and Exchange Commission in Philippines, they had recently requested Apple and Google to go ahead and remove Binance's app from the store. But it looks like they're taking a new turn and they're focusing on cryptocurrency regulatory framework. So I'll go ahead and share my thoughts and opinion on it. Now regarding Nigeria, guys, looks like it is not turning out to be a safe haven for cryptocurrency, isn't it? And few months ago, guys, we talked about Binance. They had decided to disable P2P for Nigerian users, isn't it? And now, guys, even OKX has done that. So we'll go ahead and discuss this news. And OKX, guys, did actually mention via Twitter that they have turned off the peer-to-peer function for Nigerian users. So look, guys, if you're a Nigerian citizen, you would definitely not be happy about it, isn't it? Now in the world of Ethereum, guys, we have some interesting metrics that despite the prices being on a downtrend, there has been some positive developments so far as Ethereum wallets are concerned, and 260,000 new Ethereum wallets were actually created in just a matter of 2 days. That is between 20th of April and 29th of April. So we'll definitely go ahead and touch base on that matrix. Now this news, guys, does not necessarily mean that the price of Ethereum will pump up, but it is definitely positive development, I guess. So these are some macro level news, guys, I'm going to be covering in my Crypto and Coffee a Day podcast. And like we do in every Crypto and Coffee a Day series, I'm going to be discussing 2 news from Dubai, UAE and the Middle East. Now both the news, guys, seems to be positive news so far as Dubai is concerned. And the first one is Emirates NBD Bank. They have welcomed Chainalysis to the Digital Asset Lab Council. Now listen, guys, so far as Emirates NBD Bank is concerned, they've been one of the first to go ahead and adopt cryptocurrencies. And in 2016, guys, there used to be a series called as Next Money series, and some of the key people from Emirates Bank, they used to go ahead and explain some of the benefits of blockchain technology. Now mind you, guys, this was a time when Ethereum was barely out, and I very specifically remember, guys, before the ICO era, Emirates NBD Bank definitely went ahead and did a couple of trials on the Ethereum blockchain as well. Now in today's episode, I'll definitely go ahead and revisit some of those, and we'll go ahead and discuss which other companies are in the Digital Asset Lab Council as well. Now the second news, guys, is definitely positive news, and this news, guys, has to do with artificial intelligence. And Singapore-based Dyna AI, they have announced a global launch in Dubai. Now it's really important to note, guys, that both of these news were actually announced at Dubai FinTech Summit, which is actually taking place at the same location of Token 2049, at the iconic location of Souk Al Madinat. And this event, guys, that is Dubai FinTech Summit, is taking place between the 6th and the 7th of May. So definitely positive development in the finance sector as well. So quite a lot to cover, guys, in today's episode. Let's kickstart with it right away. Welcome to the Crypto and Coffee a Day, the daily podcast that keeps you up to date on all latest developments in the world of cryptocurrencies, blockchain, and NFTs. Join us Monday to Friday as you kick off your day with a cup of coffee and a deep dive into the exciting and rapidly evolving world of digital assets. We'll cover the latest news and trends in the cryptocurrency and blockchain space, as well as delve into the growing world of NFTs or non-fungible tokens and metaverse. Plus, we'll keep you updated on the latest developments from Dubai, UAE and the wider Middle East region. Whether you're a seasoned crypto enthusiast or just getting started, Crypto and Coffee at 8 has something for you. Our expert host will provide insight and analysis on the most important topics in the industry and help you stay up to date on the latest developments. We'll bring you interviews with leading figures in the crypto and blockchain space and explore the ways in which these technologies are changing the world around us, from the impact on traditional financial systems to the potential for revolutionizing industries and transforming societies. We'll cover it all on Crypto and Coffee at 8. So tune in and join us for a daily dose of Crypto and Coffee at 8, and let's stay ahead of the curve together. We'll start your day off right with the most important news and insights from the world of cryptocurrency, blockchain and the metaverse, and help you navigate this exciting and rapidly evolving landscape. In Crypto and Coffee a Day, the daily podcast covers the latest developments in the world of cryptocurrency, blockchain and the metaverse. We'll also bring you updates on the latest news from Dubai, UAE and wider Middle East region. This also includes a range of topics such as developments in the local and blockchain industry, including new projects and initiatives, regulatory updates, and policies related to cryptocurrency and blockchain in the region, local and regional events and conferences focused on crypto and blockchain, interviews with leading figures in Dubai, UAE and Middle East crypto and blockchain community, coverage of any significant news or events related to cryptocurrency and blockchain in the region. By covering these local and regional developments, in addition to the wider world of cryptocurrency and blockchain, Crypto and Coffee at 8 aims to provide a comprehensive overview of the industry and its impact on the Dubai, UAE and Middle East region. Now before we kickstart today's episode, I have an important message, so check this out. Thank you to our sponsors for being part of the Blockchain DXB journey. Firstly, Advanced Media. Advanced Media, guys, is the largest distributor of professional video, photo, broadcast and cinematic equipment and accessories in the Middle East and MENA region. With over 2 decades of experience, Advanced Media is now the largest distributor in the Middle East, representing more than 100 recognizable brands, including brands such as Zeiss, DJI, Hasselblad, Red and Rode. As a matter of fact, guys, the very mic that I'm recording is being sponsored by Advanced Media as well, and Advanced Media has showrooms in Saudi Arabia and services as well. Looks like they're definitely taking the Middle East by storm. And here's the beautiful thing, guys, they're taking corporate social responsibility very seriously, and they're focusing on 3 P's, that is people, planet and prosperity. Now listen, guys, if you do want to find out more information regarding the statement of corporate social responsibility, check out the website, that is www.amt.tv. And here's the beautiful thing, guys, they also want to be a leader and set an example and reputation as a pioneer and member of the community. And in doing so, guys, they also have an AMT scholarship with SAE Institute in Dubai, UAE, so definitely check it out. And also, guys, Advanced Media is committed to persistently developing, organizing and hosting training workshops, seminars and community events that educate, inform and familiarize consumers with new equipment and the latest technological advances. So listen, guys, do one thing. If you do want to support this channel, go to the website, that is www.amt.tv, and follow the social media channels as well. All of the details are in the show notes below. Next, Tough Mudder Arabia, guys, they are putting some really iconic events in the Middle East, and there is one final event of the season that takes place on the 20th of April in the iconic location called as Al Marjan in Ras Al Khaimah. And the final event of the season, guys, is not going to be an ordinary event. They're going to be having some really cool obstacles. And so far as Tough Mudder is concerned, guys, they create hardcore obstacle courses designed to test your all-round strength, stamina and mental grit. And with the most innovative courses and millions of participants all around the world, it is the premier challenge series in the world. Now look at Tough Mudder Arabia, they did put out if not one of the biggest events in the world of obstacle course race, and they did that with the highest prize money in the history of obstacle course race. And what better way to end the series by having one final event on the 20th of April in the iconic location. Now look, guys, one of my goals is to complete 100 Tough Mudder, and I'm very close to getting there. Now if you want to go ahead and sign up for this event, the registration link is in the show notes below. So what are you waiting for, guys? Get your friends, get your family members, get your colleagues. The link to the registration for Tough Mudder Arabia on the 20th of April is in the show notes below. And if you go through the link, guys, there is a cool discount code mentioned in the show notes below as well. So hopefully, guys, I see you at the Tough Mudder event. Next, Startup OI is global one tech platform for tech. It offers global high-paying tech jobs with flexibility in working time and location, global free tech events, and tech networks to connect with global like-minded engineers. A brilliant platform to listen to the tech experts in Metaverse and to grab their insights. Now listen, all you have to do is download the app Startup OI. If you're using an Android version, go to Google Store and App Store for iOS devices. Alternatively, you can also click on the show notes below to download Startup OI. Next, guys, listen, if you're into fitness, if you're into adventure, if you want to do something wild but still want to keep your health in check, there is a new podcast in town, a podcast focusing on obstacle course race in the Middle East. The podcast is called the Race Pace Podcast. So check out the Race Pace Podcast across all leading platforms. And the Race Pace Podcast is a peer-to-peer community-driven podcast where they talk all about obstacle course race in the Middle East, from Sandstorm to Spartan Race, from Tough Mudder to Desert Warrior Challenge, and also the Government Gov Games, and quite a lot more. The podcast has interviews with athletes locally and internationally to get inside scoop on how athletes prepare for obstacle course race. In the podcast, they also talk about interesting stories on why they are motivated to do obstacle course race. And that's not all. They also plan to release 7 NFTs. And these NFTs are no ordinary. These NFTs will represent every emirate in the UAE. And listen, guys, these NFTs are going to be absolutely massive. So do one thing, go to Spotify, go to iTunes, go to any leading podcasting platform and search for Rise in the Obstacle Course Race podcast. And finally, guys, not your keys, not your crypto. If you have dabbled with cryptocurrencies and now are seriously getting to protect your cryptocurrencies, there is no better way to protect it by using a hardware wallet. And this is where Ledger Wallet kicks in. And Ledger Wallets are hardware cryptocurrency wallets made by Ledger, a company headquartered in Paris, France. And Ledger's hardware wallets are multi-currency wallets that are used to store private keys for cryptocurrencies offline. And Ledger offers 2 hardware wallets, the Ledger Nano and Ledger Nano X wallets. They are world-class experts with extensive crypto security backgrounds. They continuously look for vulnerabilities in Ledger products in a constant effort to improve the level of security. Now, in today's world, securing these digital assets is a critical challenge, and this is where Ledger kicks in. So click the link below to buy your hardware wallet and support this podcast. It is a brilliant way to support this podcast. So what are you waiting for? The link is in the show notes below. Now, guys, since you've taken care of that, let's kickstart by looking at the global cryptocurrency market. Now, if you look at the global cryptocurrency market, guys, since the last 24 hours, it has marginally gone down by 0.84%, and as of today, it is at $2.49 trillion. Now, look, guys, if you're looking at your numbers via CoinMarketCap, the numbers are completely strange and bizarre, and looks like they're having some downtimers in it. So I've taken some of these numbers from CoinMarketCap, but at the same time, I've taken these numbers from, let's say, Masari and even CoinGecko as well. Now, so far as the total cryptocurrency market volume is concerned, guys, it is at $87.80 billion, and since the last 24 hours, it is up by 14.28%. Now, what I want you to do is, guys, these numbers, I want you to compare it with the numbers on Wednesdays and Thursdays last week. Because what happened, guys, on Wednesdays and Thursdays, a lot of people did go ahead and park a lot of the cryptocurrencies onto stable coins, isn't it? And looks like now they are unleashing the stable coins and they are buying a lot of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And that is precisely the reason why the price of Bitcoin has pumped up. And that is exactly what I did actually mention in the episode that I released on Thursday. And looks like that is what is turning out to be in fruition. Now, so far as the volume in DeFi is concerned, guys, these numbers are definitely not looking good, and it is at $4.78 billion, and DeFi as of today is accounting for only 6.44% of the total crypto market 24-hour volume. Now, so far as the total value locked is concerned, guys, it is at $93.27 billion. Then look, guys, on the 23rd of May, we will find out if an Ethereum ETF is approved or not, and I'm pretty much sure because of that, the total value locked is definitely going to be impacted by a massive margin. I wouldn't be surprised, guys, if the total value locked does actually go below the $50 billion mark if, let's say, an Ethereum ETF is not approved. But let's say for some wild circumstance, if an Ethereum ETF is approved, I wouldn't be surprised if the total value locked crosses the $150 billion mark, maybe even the $200 billion mark, to be honest. And in today's episode, guys, we'll go ahead and discuss what decision SEC has done in order to go ahead and delay one of the applicators. Now, so far as the total value locked is concerned, guys, Lido is still dominating with $28.90 billion. Now, so far as decentralized to centralized exchange dominance is concerned, guys, it is relatively low. But the good thing since the past 2 weeks, guys, is that decentralized to centralized exchange dominance is relatively consistent throughout the days, and today it is at 19.47%. Now, what used to happen, guys, before the Duncan upgrade, decentralized to centralized exchange dominance used to pick up pace only on Wednesdays or Thursdays, and for some random reasons only on Saturdays and Sundays. But what I'm noticing is after the Duncan upgrade, decentralized to centralized exchange is relatively consistent all throughout the days, and to be honest, guys, I really like when numbers are consistent. Now, so far as the volume is concerned, Uniswap's volume is $1.64 billion, followed by PancakeSwap, and its volume is $616.31 million. Orca, guys, is at number 3rd, and its volume is $322.40 million. Radium is at number 4th, guys, and its volume is $227.52 million. And finally, Dodo, its volume is $227.36 million. Now, so far as the volume of stablecoins is concerned, guys, it is at $66.24 billion, and Tether USDT, guys, is leading the pack with $45.39 billion. FDUSD, guys, is at number 2nd. It is at $7.66 billion, and Circle USDC, guys, its volume is $6.78 billion. Now, look, guys, if you want to look at the global cryptocurrency market at a macro level, the largest gainers in the industry right now are Polkadot ecosystem and Liquidity stake sold cryptocurrencies. So these are things that you may want to look at, let's say if you're do trading. Now, so far as the market cap and 24-hour trading volume is concerned, guys, Bitcoin's market cap is at $1.26 trillion. But strangely, guys, Ethereum's market cap has actually gone down, and today it is at $375 billion. Now, look, guys, these market cap numbers are definitely not right, isn't it? Considering the fact that we did have a Bitcoin spot ETF approved, and there was a very high possibility that only the market cap of Bitcoin could have actually crossed the $2 trillion mark. We're still far away from that. Now, so far as the 24-hour trading volume is concerned, guys, Bitcoin's 24-hour trading volume is $25.15 billion, whereas Ethereum's 24-hour trading volume is almost half of Bitcoin's 24-hour trading volume at $13.60 billion. Now, keep a track on the 24-hour trading volume, guys, as and when we get closer to 23rd of May, because that will definitely drive the momentum and also the price of Ethereum, to be honest. Now, so far as the dominance is concerned, guys, I'm looking at this particular metric via CoinGecko, guys, and it is showing as 50.70%, whereas Ethereum is at 15.43%. Now, look, guys, I tend to compare these numbers with, let's say, CoinMarketCap and even CoinGecko. For some odd reason, guys, there's some massive anomaly in CoinMarketCap today. But what used to happen is, let's say, if I were to look at dominance of Bitcoin via CoinMarketCap, if it was, let's say, around the 54% mark, on CoinGecko, sometimes it shows as 51%. So these are things you need to be aware of as well, because CoinGecko, if I'm not mistaken, guys, they take different set of cryptocurrencies. CoinMarketCap, they take a larger pool of cryptocurrencies. Now, in today's episode, guys, what I want to do is I want to quickly run through the market cap of stablecoins. Now, look, guys, so far as market cap of stablecoins is concerned, to be honest, guys, I don't particularly tend to look at this quite often, and lately I'm seeing quite a lot of reports where they're talking about the importance of market cap of stablecoins. I kind of disagree, guys, because when you talk about stablecoin issuers, what we need to be looking at is the 24-hour trading volume, because that will give us an idea of the issuers of the stablecoin issuers. And it's needless to say, guys, that Tether USDT has always been dominant, isn't it? Because if you look at Tether USDT's market cap, guys, it is at a staggering $111 billion. Now, what is completely bizarre and strange, guys, is Tether USDT's market cap was on an incline in 2023, when on an average given day, the entire stablecoin volume used to be $30 billion. So according to me, guys, it did not make any sense that Tether was actually going ahead and minting new USDT when there was no use case. These are my honest thoughts, to be honest. Now, so far as the market cap of Circle USDC is concerned, it is at number 2nd, and it is at $33.24 billion. DAI, guys, that is by MakerDAO. Its market cap is $5.35 billion. But look, guys, if you look at the 24-hour trading volume of DAI, I believe it is less than $100,000 as well. Now, so far as the number 4th is concerned, guys, it is First Digital USD, and its market cap is $3.86 billion. But here's the interesting bit, guys. If you were to compare it with its 24-hour trading volume, it is almost double, isn't it? So it looks like the same coin has been used twice, and that, to be honest, I particularly like it, which just means, guys, that more people are actually going ahead and using FDUSD. Now, the number 5th, guys, is a new player in the stablecoin world, that is USDE by Ethena, and its market cap is only at $278 million. Now let me know guys, what is it that you tend to look at? Do you tend to look at the market cap of stablecoins, or do you tend to look at the 24-hour trading volume, and what is the right matrix? Now guys, in today's episode, what I want to do is, before we go ahead and look at the price of the king of all kings, that is Bitcoin, Ethereum and Binance BNB coin, I want to go ahead and retouch base on double spending. Because look guys, I tend to have so many interviews with CEOs, CTOs and tech founders, and it's really bizarre and strange that some of them have no clue of what double spending is. Now it's so critical to understand guys that double spending is the basic of Bitcoin, and one of the biggest innovation of Satoshi Nakamoto and Bitcoin was that he actually went ahead and solved the double spending problem. So what I want you to do is guys, whenever you're listening to let's say podcasts, or whenever you're speaking to CEOs and CTOs regarding the project, try to see if they can actually go ahead and double spend. Because look guys, if they can go ahead and double spend on the protocol, then it entirely defeats the whole purpose of using cryptocurrency, blockchain and Web3, isn't it? So let me go ahead and explain what double spending is. And then guys, what I want to do is, I want to go ahead and explain how double spending could actually occur with central bank digital currency. And also guys, when you talk about open blockchain, there is nothing called as permission blockchain. Because when you call permission blockchain guys, they can definitely go ahead and double spend. So there is open blockchain and there is absolutely nothing. Or alternatively guys, you can call permission blockchain a software as well. So let me go ahead and explain what double spending is. Because double spending guys is a potential flaw in digital cryptocurrency systems where the same digital token or currency units are spent more than once, and this issue arises because digital information can be easily reproduced or copied in traditional centralized systems guys, such as those used in online banking. Preventing double spending relies on a trusted third party, like say a bank, and they in turn go ahead and verify transactions and maintain a central ledger in it. However, the beauty of distributed or decentralized systems like Bitcoin lies in the ability to prevent double spending without the need for a centralized authority. And Satoshi Nakamoto guys, who was the creator of Bitcoin, solved the double spending problem through a combination of cryptographic techniques and a distributed network consensus protocol. And guys, in the episode that I released on the 20th of April, I also went ahead and talked about UTXO model, that is unspent transaction output. And because of UTXO guys, it is next to impossible to go ahead and do double spending. So let me go ahead and explain guys, how does Bitcoin prevent double spending? Because Bitcoin guys uses a decentralized ledger called as blockchain, and this ledger records all transactions ever made in the network in a chronological order, and each block in the blockchain guys contains a list of transactions, and each block is linked to the previous block, thereby forming a chain. Now Bitcoin guys uses consensus mechanism called as proof of work, isn't it, that requires participants in the network that are also called as miners to go and solve complex mathematical puzzles, and they do that in order to validate transactions and then add them onto the block. And this process guys is resource intensive and also time consuming, thereby making it difficult for any single entity to control the network and execute double spending attacks. Now look guys, Bitcoin operates on a peer-to-peer network consisting of nodes that are spread all across the world, isn't it? And these nodes guys communicate and validate transactions. So no central entity controls the network, making it resistant to censorship and single point of failure. And guys, before a transaction is added to the blockchain, it needs to be verified by the network nodes, and this verification process ensures the sender actually owns the funds that are being spent and those funds haven't already been spent elsewhere. And this is where UTXO kicks in guys. So look guys, for a transaction to be confirmed and added to a blockchain, a consensus among the network nodes must be reached, and this agreement ensures the majority of the nodes in the network validate the transactions and legitimate, thereby further preventing double spending. So essentially guys, by combining these elements, Bitcoin effectively prevents double spending in decentralized manner, enabling secure peer-to-peer transactions without the need for a trusted intermediary. And Satoshi Nakamoto's innovative solution to double spending problem laid the foundation for entire cryptocurrency ecosystem and revolutionized the way we think about digital currency and decentralized system. So it's really important to note guys that you truly understand what double spending is. But when you talk about central bank digital currencies guys, central bank digital currencies can definitely go ahead and double spend, isn't it? So let me go ahead and explain how central bank digital currencies could go ahead and double spend. Because central bank digital currencies guys represent digital versions of traditional fiat currencies that are issued by central banks. Now, while central banks offer numerous benefits such as increased efficiency in payment systems and financial inclusion, they can introduce new challenges, and one of them is double spending. And truth be told, guys, this thing is applicable for permission blockchain as well. So whenever you're listening to permission blockchain, guys, you need to dismiss it, or you could use another word, that is software. Now, so far CBDCs are concerned, guys, unlike distributed cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, central bank digital currencies are centralized and controlled by a single entity, that is the central bank. And this centralization, guys, means that central bank has full control over the issuance and management of the digital currency. The central bank digital currency transactions, guys, are recorded in a central database that is maintained by the central bank or its designated intermediaries, and if this database was compromised or manipulated, it could be possible for someone to alter transaction record and spend the same digital currency multiple times. And look, as malicious actors could attempt to exploit vulnerabilities in CBDC system, and they can do that by creating counterfeit digital currencies or tampering with transaction data to initiate fraudulent transactions. So these transactions may appear legitimate initially, but could result in double spending if not properly detected or prevented. Now, if the security measures, guys, implemented by central banks or the technology infrastructure supporting CBDC transactions are inadequate, it could make the system vulnerable to cyber attacks or hacking attempts. So a successful attack could enable double spending, guys, and they can do that by manipulating transaction records or creating counterfeit digital currency units. Now look, guys, CBDCs also lack transparency and auditability, and it may be challenging to detect and prevent double spending effectively, to be honest. And without proper oversight and accountability mechanism, malicious activities could go unnoticed, leading to potential exploitation of the system. So look, guys, to mitigate the risk of double spending in CBDCs, central banks would need to implement robust security measures and transaction verification mechanism. They may include cryptographic techniques, real-time transaction monitoring, identity verification protocol, and ensure hardware and software infrastructure. Additionally, guys, they can ensure transparency, accountability, and regular audits of the CBDC system that can help detect and prevent fraudulent activities. But while CBDCs offer the potential for innovation and efficiency in the financial system, guys, it's really important to note that addressing the double spending risk is extremely crucial to maintain trust and integrity in the digital currency ecosystem. So these are my thoughts, guys. Let me know if you agree to it or disagree to it. Now look, guys, when you talk about permission blockchain, these permission blockchain, guys, have exactly the same problem, and permission blockchains, guys, can definitely go out and double spend. And look, guys, when you talk about Satoshi Nakamoto, one of his biggest innovation was that he was able to solve the double spending problem. So let me know, guys, what are your thoughts are regarding double spending, or if you do have any positive or negative things to say regarding central bank digital currencies, mention them in the comments below. Now, guys, let's look at the king of all kings, that is Bitcoin. Now, the price of Bitcoin, guys, is at $64,327. Now, imagine, guys, on Thursday, the price of Bitcoin was at $57,000, isn't it? Now, we are up by almost $7,000, to be honest. Now, since the last 24 hours, though, it is down by 1.60%, but since the last 7 days, it is up by 3.19%. Ethereum, guys, is well over the $3,000 mark. It is at $3,126. Since the last 24 hours, though, it is down by 2.34%, and clearly, guys, the market cap has gone down as well, isn't it? But since the last 7 days, guys, it is up by 1.90%, and later on, guys, we'll definitely go and discuss some really interesting metrics regarding Ethereum, because the number of wallets have drastically increased, and we'll also go ahead and start off by discussing news regarding Ethereum ETF. For that, guys, let me just run through the price of Binance BNB coin. It is well below the $600 mark. It is at $595. Now, since the last 24 hours, it is down by 0.84%, but since the last 7 days, it is up by 1.30%. Now, look, guys, when you talk about Bitcoin or open blockchain, it is really important to understand the pillars of open blockchain. And these pillars of open blockchain, guys, is popularized by Andreas Antonopoulos. So what I'd really recommend you to do is, guys, go to YouTube and look up Andreas Antonopoulos videos on pillars of open blockchain. Now, he did not add publicly verifiable in that video. Later on, he went in and added publicly verifiable. So in that video, he talks about open source, he talks about borderless, he talks about censorship resistant, he talks about permissionless, and he talks about neutral. And finally, guys, he talks about publicly verifiable. Now, when you talk about publicly verifiable, guys, it's really important to know that absolutely anyone in the world can go ahead and validate transactions on Bitcoin. And what has happened, guys, is a mysterious holder has moved Bitcoin worth $44 million after receiving the coin over 10 years ago. And on Sunday, guys, 687.33 Bitcoin were actually moved after being dormant for over a decade. And these coins, guys, were initially received in January of 2014 and has not been touched since. Now, the price of Bitcoin, guys, when the transaction actually took place was $63,467, which means guys the investor gained 7,228%. Now here's the interesting bit guys, in order to go ahead and move $44 million worth of transaction, the transaction fee paid was less than $2. This is absolutely beautiful stuff, isn't it? Imagine guys, we are able to track and go ahead and verify transactions of fiat currencies. Politicians will definitely not be liking that, isn't it? So this is definitely one of the features and the beauties of open blockchain. Now guys, let's discuss some news regarding Ethereum and the United Securities and Exchange Commission guys. They have decided to postpone the decision on Invesco Galaxy application for a spot Ethereum ETF, and they have actually set the next deadline for July 15th. Now what I'd really recommend you to do is guys, the United Securities and Exchange Commission has put up these details in the filings, and in that filings it actually states that they have 180 days from the day of the application. And the first decision was scheduled to take place on the 6th of May, but the Securities and Exchange Commission has decided to go ahead and extend the deadline. Now this delay guys extends the review period by another 60 days to thoroughly assess the proposed ETF and related issues, and the Securities and Exchange Commission guys has also deferred decision on applications from other ETF issuers, that is BlackRock, Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, Hasdaq and ARX21 shares as well. Now analysts guys have anticipated these delays with recent downgrades in the odds of approval of ETF, reflecting the doubts for SEC's readiness to approve such products within the expected timeline. Now look guys, on the 23rd of May, we will actually find out, as the 180 days that I mentioned earlier does actually go ahead and expire for some of the applications. So we will get a concrete information if an Ethereum ETF is approved or not. But look guys, based on my understanding, at least as of now, the chances of an Ethereum ETF is definitely not looking good. And to make it worse guys, the US Securities and Exchange Commission, they're going after Ethereum Foundation as well, isn't it? Because according to Gary Gensler and Ethereum guys, Ethereum switching from proof of work to proof of stake is actually the one that is causing a problem. So let's try to see what the update to this is. Now regarding Ethereum guys, we do have some really interesting update and sentiment guys. They have actually disclosed via Twitter that over 260,000 new Ethereum wallets were created between 28th and 29th of April. And this is the highest two-day network growth guys, going back to October 8th and 9th of 2022. Really interesting matrix, isn't it? Now guys, let me touch base on some really interesting news regarding Philippines. And Amelia Aquino, the chairperson of Philippine Securities and Exchange Commission, plans to introduce a cryptocurrency regulatory framework later in 2023. And the aim guys is to protect Filipino crypto users. Now it's really important to note guys that the Securities and Exchange Commission recently requested Apple and Google to remove Binance's app from their stores, and they were actually arguing that Binance lacks the necessary license. Now look guys, the chairperson of Philippine Securities and Exchange Commission expects swift compliance from the tech giants given the past responsiveness. So let's try to see guys if Binance adhere to that. Now as and when guys, if I do get some update regarding cryptocurrency regulatory framework, I'll definitely go ahead and cover this in my Crypto and Coffee Day podcast. Now it's really important to understand guys that when you talk about regulatory framework, their role is to protect investors and average consumers, but they should not be stifling innovation. So it depends on what political party is in charge and what is the political motivation behind this cryptocurrency regulatory framework, in my opinion. So what I'll do is guys, later on in 2024, I'll definitely go ahead and follow up on this news. Now guys, let's discuss some unfortunate news, and that is to do with Nigerian users. And OKX guys, they have turned off their peer-to-peer functions for Nigerian users, and they have decided to remove the Naira from the platform. And OKX guys did actually mention via Twitter that the crypto platform has decided to disable the P2P functions for Nigerian users, and this is following Binance's footstep, isn't it? Because Binance did actually disable P2P for Nigerian users as well. So it looks like Nigerian users are definitely not happy about it. Now look guys, I really am not sure what the political motivation for this is, but so far as users are concerned, this is definitely not ideal. So let's see guys how Nigeria reacts in the world of cryptocurrency transactions. So these were some macro level news guys from the cryptocurrency and blockchain world. Now let's look at two news from Dubai, UAE and the Middle East. And both the news guys were actually announced at Dubai FinTech Summit that is currently taking place in Dubai between the 6th and 7th of May. So let me go ahead and touch base on the first news, and this has to do with Emirates NBD. And they have welcomed Chainalysis to Digital Asset Lab Council. So let me go ahead and share more information regarding this news guys. Because Chainalysis guys joins other keyboard members including PwC, Fireblocks in R3 as well. And this partnership, guys, aims to develop compliant and secure financial products and services. And Emirates NBD, guys, they plan to leverage analysis, expertise, and blockchain analysis. And the alliance, guys, demonstrates the bank's commitment to regulatory compliance as well. And Miguel Rio Tinto, the Group Chief Digital and Information Officer of Emirates NBD, has highlighted the bank's commitment to innovation, and this partnership, guys, aims to provide a transparent and reliable digital finance environment for customers. And Nicola Buono, the VP of Southern EMEA of Chainalysis, emphasizes the role of financial institutions in sculpting the future of digital assets. And Chainalysis, guys, they definitely look forward to collaborating with Emirates NBD to offer secure and transparent digital asset services. And the Digital Asset Lab, guys, was announced earlier today at the Dubai FinTech Summit. Now, so far as the Digital Asset Lab is concerned, guys, it was announced last year at the Dubai FinTech Summit in May of 2023, and I believe the event took place at the same location as well. Now, the goal, guys, of this partnership is to accelerate digital asset and financial services innovation in the UAE. And Emirates NBD, guys, they aim to provide greater access to financial products through the lab. The look, guys, so far as Emirates NBD is concerned, they have definitely been very proactive in the world of blockchain. And as I mentioned earlier, guys, as well, going back to 2016, they definitely did several trial projects in Ethereum blockchain, and this was before the whole ICO era as well. And I very specifically remember, guys, what they did for the Emirates NBD staff. They had the physical checks, and that had a particular number and a code that they wanted to track it on blockchain as well. I really am not sure what the update to that is, but so far as Emirates NBD is concerned, they definitely have been very proactive in the world of cryptocurrency and blockchain. Now, so far as the Digital Asset Lab is concerned, guys, the lab focuses solely on digital assets and the underlying technologies, and it aims to enable customers to manage their financial services effectively in the dynamic environment of digital assets. Now, this partnership, guys, underscores the UAE's leadership in digital asset innovation, isn't it? And the collaboration aims to foster confidence in digital asset services. And the Labcast provides a platform for industry experts to develop innovative ideas in financial services. And Emirates NBD, guys, they definitely aim to establish a robust platform for digital asset innovation. So definitely positive news. And we do have another positive news, guys, that was also announced at the Dubai FinTech Summit today. And Dyna.ai, they announced the global launch at Dubai FinTech Summit, and their operation spans Asia, Middle East, America, Europe, and Africa, and they have opened office in UAE, Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, and MEA region as well. Now, so far as Dyna.ai is concerned, guys, their solutions cater to traditional banks, digital banks, fintechs, and quite a lot more. And their AI platform, guys, enhances marketing, customer acquisition, risk management, and productivity. And Dyna Athena and Dyna Avatar are key solutions for text-to-speech and digital human interactions. So look, guys, I'm definitely going to have a check on this. And the large learning model solutions offer task-specific AI tailored for banks and fintech. And Dyna Avatar, guys, supports real-time digital human interactions in multiple languages. And Mr. Tomas Como, the chairman of Dyna.ai, emphasizes empowering work and enriching life, and over 50% of research and development workforce is dedicated to innovation, and they have a global recruitment drive, seeking professionals in technology, marketing, and customer success as well. And the robust system products include business core systems, a smart decision platform, and the digital banking system, guys, supports omni-channel mobility and full digitization. And Dyna.ai follows results as a service, also called as RAS, and that is a business model, I guess. And the management team, guys, comprises professionals from esteemed institutions with diverse expertise, and they're focusing on combining leading AI technology with local financial service needs. And Dyna.ai's strategic global expansion aims to provide local services and operational capabilities, and they aim to generate business results from bank, insurance, wealth, and fintechs as well. So definitely a positive news. So these were the newscasts from cryptocurrency and blockchain world from Crypto and Coffee 88 from Blockchain DXB. In case if you guys have any feedback or suggestion, mention them in the comments below. And guys, if you like listening to this podcast, please click on the follow button, give it a 5-star rating, and share the word across. And guys, please feel free to go and check out my website, that is www.blockchaindxb.com. Now for the next few minutes, there's going to be an Ask Me Anything series, where you listeners can ask any questions regarding Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. So let's get started with the Ask Me Anything series. Hey everyone, it's Josh from Blockchain DXB. You're listening to the Ask Me Anything series, where your listeners can ask any questions regarding Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and metaverse. I have a question about Valentino who asks, with the recent surge in Ethereum wallets being created, how do you think this influx of users will influence the price of Ethereum in the next coming weeks? Now, this is a really interesting question, to be honest. Now, Valentine, the surge in Ethereum wallet is a promising sign for sure so far as Ethereum's network growth and adoption is concerned. And what I think is, as more individuals create wallets, it definitely indicates increasing interest in Ethereum and also its potential impact, isn't it? But what you need to understand is the only reason why I do feel that there are so many new wallets being created is because there's news regarding Ethereum Spot ETF, isn't it? And look what happened to the price of Bitcoin after a Bitcoin Spot ETF is approved. And so far as this news is concerned, this growing user base could also lead to higher demand for Ethereum tokens as well. Now, what is going to happen is more people will participate in transactions because 260,000 new wallets is definitely a large amount, isn't it? And I'm pretty much sure at least 10% or 20% of them will actually interact with decentralized apps, and they will definitely be engaging in other activities on the network. And what I also think is, Valentine, a large user base typically translates into increased network activity, and they can actually contribute to Ethereum's overall ecosystem strength as well. What I personally do feel is that with more users participating in transactions that could be, let's say, staking or even utilizing Ethereum based services, there's a very high likelihood of sustained demand for Ethereum tokens, potentially leading to upward pressure on prices. However, it's really important to recognize that while user adoption is a fundamental driver for cryptocurrencies, it is not the only factor, because as I mentioned earlier, the Ethereum ETF is a massive thing, isn't it? And apart from that, the market sentiment, macroeconomic trends, regulatory developments, and also technological advancements play a significant role in shaping the price movements. Now, unfortunately, SEC going after Ethereum Foundation does not help, and SEC has also served Wells notice to Uniswap Labs as well. Those are factors that will definitely reduce the price of Ethereum as well. So it's really important to note, Valentine, while we anticipate the growing number of Ethereum wallets will have a positive impact on the price of Ethereum, over the long term, short-term price fluctuations may not always align with this trend. So in a nutshell, Valentine, what I feel is that the surge in Ethereum wallets is a positive indicator for the network's health and potential for growth in the near future. But at the same time, it's also important to know that while it's likely to contribute to increased demand and upward pressure on prices in the long run, it is also important to consider the broader market dynamics and factors influencing cryptocurrency prices, while asserting short-term price movements as well. Those are my honest thoughts. And look, anyone, if they're using these numbers and making price predictions, they are definitely trying you to go out and buy a lot of Ethereum. Those are my honest thoughts, but definitely a really interesting question. And that's about all, guys, on the Ask Me Anything season blockchain DXP. In case if you guys have any feedback or suggestions, mention them in the comments below. And guys, if you like listening to this podcast, please click on the follow button, give it a 5-star rating, and share the word across. And please go ahead and check out my website, guys, that is www.blockchaindxb.com. And guys, if you like listening to the episode, please click on the follow button, give it a 5-star rating, and share the word across. And remember, guys, Monday to Thursdays, 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. we have Crypto and Coffee at 8, where we cover top news and information pertaining to the price of cryptocurrencies, some major breaking news, occasionally short and sweet news as well, news that has an impact in the cryptocurrency world. The other two news and information is related to Dubai, UAE, and the Middle East, from the cryptocurrency, blockchain, and artificial intelligence world as well. And what you're listening to right now is the Ask Me Anything series, where you listeners can ask any questions regarding Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and metaverse. So thanks so much for listening, guys, and have a nice one. Bye-bye.